People always say blood is thicker than water, but I've discovered that DNA can weigh heavier than either, especially when it comes to hidden family truths. My name is Mel Anderson, and up until 3 months ago, I believed the biggest revelation of my life was that I was adopted. I couldn't have been more wrong. James and Maria Anderson adopted me at birth, and they've been nothing short of the best parents a child could hope for. They never made adoption a secret. It was woven naturally into our family story, right alongside Dad's terrible puns and Mom's award-winning apple pie. Being adopted never made me feel less like an Anderson. At least, not until Aunt Karen decided otherwise. The trouble began with the Anderson family grand reunion. Grandpa Anderson was turning 90, and the plan was to celebrate with a week-long gathering at his farmhouse in Vermont. Cousins were flying in, uncles and aunts had cleared their schedules, and everyone was buzzing about it being the biggest family event in decades. Everyone except Karen. As the eldest daughter and self-declared protector of the Anderson legacy, she was in charge of organizing the reunion, and she had very particular opinions about who counted as family. I learned this firsthand during dinner at my parents' house. Karen was reviewing the guest list with Mom, talking about head counts and lodging when she said, without quite meeting my eyes, "Of course we'll need exact numbers. This is for real Andersons only. Blood relatives." The table froze. Dad's fork scraped loudly against his plate. "What are you implying, Karen?" Mom's voice had an edge sharp enough to cut glass. Karen smoothed her blouse and gave a practiced smile. "You know what I mean. This is about heritage, honoring the Anderson bloodline. Michelle's wonderful, of course, but she's not truly one of us." The words landed like a punch. 28 years of holidays, birthdays, and memories, all dismissed because I didn't share their DNA. "That's absurd," Dad began, but Karen interrupted. "James, it's not personal. The reunion will include a genealogy presentation, heirlooms, talks on inherited traits. Michelle would feel out of place." "The only person making her feel out of place is you," Mom shot back. Karen pressed on. "I've already spoken with the reunion committee. We've all agreed, blood relatives only. Simpler that way." The committee was nothing more than her daughter Jessica and 2 cousins who never dared cross her. Jessica, who had once been my closest friend growing up, couldn't even look at me. "This is nonsense," Dad snapped. "If Michelle isn't invited, none of us are going." "Don't exaggerate, James," Karen replied smoothly. "You're the eldest son, you must attend. Maria's been helping with Grandpa's photo display. You can't let one person's feelings disrupt tradition." Finally spoke. "Don't worry, Dad. I wouldn't want to corrupt the sacred Anderson bloodline with my presence." "Michelle." Mom tried to stop me, but I was already on my feet. "Seriously? Oh. Grandpa deserves his real family, at least according to Karen." I walked out, ignoring their protests. Driving home, I thought back to all the subtle moments over the years when Karen had marked me as different, like the Christmas when she gave heirloom jewelry to every grandchild but me, or the way she always introduced me as James and Maria's adopted daughter. But the more I thought about her obsession with blood relatives only, the more it felt like something else was at play, something she wanted to keep hidden. That night I barely slept. One old photo Mom had been organizing for the reunion kept resurfacing in my mind. A picnic snapshot from before my adoption. Karen had looked strangely out of place in it. The next morning I called in sick to work and drove to my parents' house. With Mom gone and Dad at the office, I let myself in. The boxes of old photos still covered the dining room table. I found the picnic picture quickly. Summer of 1994. Just months before my adoption. Everyone was smiling, sprawled on blankets with paper plates of food. Everyone except Karen. She stood apart from the group, her hand pressed to her stomach, her face turned slightly away. She wore a loose sundress, odd for someone who normally dressed with sharp precision. And suddenly, I had a sinking feeling that Aunt Karen's obsession with DNA wasn't about excluding me. It was about hiding herself. According to the date stamp, the photo had been taken just 6 months before Karen married Uncle Steve in what Mom had always described as a rushed wedding. A wild, impossible thought started to creep in. I was born in January 1995. Karen married Steve in December 1994. The timing. Well, that couldn't be. Could it? I snapped a picture of the Polaroid with my phone, then opened my laptop. For the next few hours, I fell down a rabbit hole of research. Many hospital records from that time had been digitized. With some careful searching, I finally found it. A birth record from St. Mary's Hospital, January 15, 1995. My birth record. The mother's name was listed as Jane Doe, standard for closed adoptions. But there was an additional note, likely misplaced during digitization. Patient requested strict confidentiality. Family connection to hospital board member K.A. noted. K.A. Karen Anderson. My hands trembled as I pulled up the website for a major DNA testing company. I'd always stayed away from these services out of respect for my birth parents' privacy. But now, 2 days later, the kit arrived. As I swabbed my cheek, I thought of Karen's obsession with blood relatives only. Her subtle jabs over the years, the way she never once asked if I'd ever wanted to find my birth parents, something nearly every other relative had done. 6 weeks later, my phone buzzed with a notification. Your DNA results are ready. And just like that, everything I believed about my family began to crumble. The results loaded slowly, each section unveiling another piece of an unthinkable puzzle. First, the ethnic breakdown, predominantly Northern European, just like the Andersons. Then, health markers showing the same predisposition to high blood pressure that ran in their family. But it was the relative matches that made my heart stop. Close family match. Jessica Anderson. Relationship. First cousin. Estimated relationship. Half-sibling. Below that. Close family match. James Anderson. Relationship. Uncle. Estimated relationship. Father. My uncle wasn't my uncle. He was my father biologically. Which meant Karen wasn't my aunt. She was my mother. The room tilted as the realization hit. Hands shaking, I called Mom. Not my biological mother, but my real mom, the only one who had ever truly been there for me. Michelle, she answered immediately. What's wrong? I need you and Dad to come over. Bring the 1994 photo album. 20 minutes later, they arrived to find me still staring at my laptop screen. Without speaking, I turned it toward them. Oh God! Mom whispered, sinking into a chair. Dad went pale. How long have you known? Asked. We didn't, Dad said quickly. Not for sure. We only suspected. Karen never confirmed it. Mom squeezed my hand. When we were chosen for the adoption, they told us it was a closed process. But the social worker hinted there was a family link. We thought maybe a distant relative. Then at the hospital, I saw Karen in the maternity ward. She said she was visiting a friend, but she begged us not to tell anyone. Said it would ruin her life and her future with Steve. We agreed because we wanted you so badly. And we were afraid if we didn't, she'd change her mind, I said softly. The puzzle pieces clicked into place. Karen's coldness. Her determination to exclude me from real family events. Her obsession with bloodlines. We should have told you, Mom said, tears streaming down her face. But as the years passed, it seemed kinder to leave it. You were ours. Entirely ours. We thought the details didn't matter. I wrapped my arms around them both. These parents who had chosen me, raised me, loved me, even shielded me from the truth. Does Grandpa know? Dad shook his head. I don't think so. Karen told everyone she was staying with a cousin in Maine during that time. I glanced at the reunion invitation still sitting on my coffee table. 3 days until the Anderson family grand reunion. Karen's carefully orchestrated celebration of heritage was about to take a very different turn. I'm going, I said firmly. Michelle. Mom began. No, I'm done hiding. Done being made to feel like less. Karen wants to celebrate Anderson blood. Fine. Let's celebrate it. The reunion was in full swing when we pulled up to Grandpa's farm. Cars crowded the long driveway, children played across the sprawling lawn, and the smell of barbecue hung in the air. A huge banner read "Welcome Anderson Family," lettered in Karen's flawless calligraphy. She spotted us instantly, her expression darkening as she strode over. "I thought we discussed this," she said, blocking our path. "This gathering is for blood relatives only." "Funny you should say that, Aunt Karen." I stepped forward. "Or should I say, Mom?" The glass she was holding slipped and shattered on the porch. Around us the chatter died. Heads turned. "What did you just say?" Her voice was barely audible. I took out my phone and opened the DNA results. "Would you like to see the proof?" "It's all here. Genetic markers, family matches. Connections," I said, my voice steady. "It's incredible what modern science can uncover about family trees." "You had no right to do this," Karen spat, her face pale. "That information was private." "Private?" I laughed bitterly. "Like how you kept me a secret my whole life. How you made me feel like an outsider at every family gathering." "Lower your voice," she begged, glancing nervously at the crowd that had fallen silent around us. "Why should I?" Shot back. "Isn't this reunion supposed to be about celebrating Anderson heritage? Well, here's some heritage for you all. 28 years ago, Karen Anderson had a child. Instead of acknowledging her daughter, she arranged a closed adoption. But here's the twist. She handed her own baby to her brother to raise. And then she spent nearly 3 decades pretending I wasn't part of this family." The porch was utterly still. Every conversation had stopped. Jessica stood halfway down the steps, frozen, her expression one of shock and betrayal. "Is it true?" Grandpa Anderson's voice cut through the silence. He had wheeled himself onto the porch, his eyes sharp despite his age. "Karen, is Michelle your child?" Karen's perfect facade faltered. "Daddy, I was young, unmarried. If people had found out, it would have ruined everything with Steve. So you gave your baby away to James and Maria." Grandpa's voice was soft but heavy with disappointment. "And then you spent years making that same child feel unwanted." Karen's composure crumbled. "I did what I thought was best. She had a stable home, good parents. What more could I have done?" "Love her," Jessica whispered. Every head turned. "You should have loved her, Mom. The same way you love me. Instead, you made me treat my own sister like a stranger." The hours that followed were chaos. Arguments flared. Relatives took sides. Secrets buried for years bubbled to the surface. Uncle Steve stormed away, furious at decades of deception. Cousins who had once parroted Karen's coldness toward me now avoided my eyes, guilt etched across their faces. But something else shifted too. Jessica pulled me into a hug. The first real one in years. "I always wanted a sister," she whispered against my shoulder. Grandpa peppered me with questions, insisting he hear everything about my career, my life, my dreams. With a proud smile, he claimed my architectural talent must come from his side of the family. Karen left early, muttering about not being part of this spectacle. But her absence felt like a door finally closing, leaving space for the rest of us to breathe. For the first time, I wasn't a guest. I wasn't adopted Michelle. I was simply an Anderson. That evening, as fireflies blinked across the farmhouse lawn, Grandpa gathered everyone together. His voice, though frail, carried authority. "Family," he began, "isn't about secrets or shame. It's not about bloodlines or who has the right to belong. It's about love. Messy, complicated, imperfect love." He turned to me, his gaze warm. "Michelle, you've been an Anderson from the moment James and Maria brought you home. Not because of blood, but because of the love you've given and received. I regret it took this long for us to say it out loud." A year has passed since that reunion. Karen still refuses to speak to me. But I've made peace with that. Jessica and I meet for coffee every week, finally building the sisterhood we should have had all along. She's pregnant now. I can't wait to be an aunt. As for Mom and Dad, nothing has changed. If anything, we're closer than ever. Learning they're technically my aunt and uncle doesn't alter what they are to me. My parents. The ones who chose me, fought for me, and loved me without condition. Just last week I found a package waiting on my doorstep. Inside was an old jewelry box and a note written in Grandpa's shaky hand. This belonged to your grandmother. She would have wanted her granddaughter to have it. Not because of blood, but because of the strength and love you've shown in forgiving this family's mistakes. Love, Grandpa. Inside the box lay the necklace Karen had deliberately excluded me from receiving all those Christmases ago. Now it rests in my jewelry box, not as a symbol of lineage, but as a reminder that family isn't defined by DNA. Family is the people who love you, people who show up, people who stay. Sometimes the truth hurts, sometimes it heals, and sometimes, like a DNA test revealing both roots and wings, it frees you to step fully into who you were always meant to be. Not just a blood relative, but true family.